Hey everyone, it's Aitan here, and the second episode of Talk to Aitan. We have with us Anthony DeLuca. Anthony, how you doing?
Good. Good to
How's it
be
going?
here. Yeah.
Great. So please tell us about yourself. Where are you from?
Mhm.
How old? How old are you as well? And and anything else
Yeah,
you talk about at that present time.
sure.
Yep.
So, 23 years old. I'm about to be 24 in 3 weeks or so. And I live in Scranton, Pennsylvania. If you guys see The Office, like that's where Scranton gets its claim to fame from the show The Office. Yeah. So that's it. I'm actually not from Scranton. I'm from like this little town that's like 5 minutes outside of Scranton. It's called Old Forge, and they dub it as the pizza capital of the world. It's got like,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
yeah. It's like an Italian town. I'm Italian, half Jewish. Not religiously Jewish, but heritagely I'm from like Turkey, like just a mutt of all the Jewish countries.
Interesting.
Yeah,
And what are you doing at the moment? What is your occupation?
yeah.
Tapping in.
So I just posted in the academy maybe like a week ago. I just got a new job at FedEx in the warehouse. So I'm doing a warehouse job right now. I was working at a restaurant, but the restaurant business is just getting decimated right now by the restrictions and everything that's going on. So I'm looking to ease out of that. And I've been studying a lot of I've been trying to increase my financial literacy like the past month. I've been studying like crazy almost every single day, just taking different courses. And I want to, start some sort of online businesses. I have a couple ideas as to what I want to do. There's things that I want to do I want to work in more of like a succession. So there's things that I want to start implementing online that I do to just increase my financial capacity so I could better do things that I actually want to do. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Interesting. I'd like to know a little bit more about FedEx. I mean, is like what's it like working there?
Yeah, so
What's it
I
like working
honestly
there?
thought it was going to be like a pretty official, pretty like strict job, to be honest with you, because it's, that's such a big company. I
Yeah.
figured, but it's pretty laid back, to be honest. I like working there right now just because I work in the PM, so it's only like a 4.5 hour shift a day. It's like 4 to 8, 8:30 whenever we get done. And I'm working with all guys relatively around my age, all guys. It's not really
Any women?
no men.
Any women working there? So it's all men.
Not in where I work, not in the department I work, and it's not a lot of people. It's like probably like 15 people, and there's older people who work in like the docks area, and they unload the trucks as they come in, and then they put all the packages on the belt with the labels. And if we scan the packages and we put them into these big containers called cans, and then once the cans fill up, they get loaded onto trucks. The trucks take them to the airports. They go to like New Jersey, one in New Jersey, one in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and then it's for FedEx Express. So that's all we do. It's pretty easy. Nobody's really busting your balls. I kind of like it right now because having a 4.5 hour shift, it's allowing me to have more time throughout the day as opposed to working 8 hours, so I could like really study and it doesn't like wear me down too much. I do like having physical labor job, to be honest, and I do like, just working around guys who are around my age, not really having a boss, working around all dudes because nobody's really busting your balls. Like I could go in there and not say a word to anybody and nobody's gonna like bust my balls or say anything. So it's just all about my business right now,
It's interesting because what you do is actually an essential service. I mean, during
Yeah,
a lockdown, we need to have you. Like, it's actually like a real
yeah.
key service to have. So it's very interesting you're working at. So okay, that's interesting. So what about before FedEx? What were you doing before that? What was your
Yeah.
journey from there?
So at least occupationally, I've been bouncing around since I graduated high school back in 2015. So I just had a bunch of odds and ends jobs since then, like landscaping. I still do that in the summer. I've uh I've worked at like a liquor store. I've worked for a few different restaurants, being a cook. dishwashing back in the day.
Yeah.
Um, I worked as a valet for a while, just like a bunch of little jobs, just like, just there's not much I was able to really get into because I didn't know what I wanted to do right out of high school. And so I'm just increasing my experiences that way, just from being around all sorts of different people and working a bunch of different jobs like that. I definitely, it's been quite the experience. Like I said, just picking up around all these different people, all these different companies, seeing the way the world works. Because, right out of high school, you don't really have any experience with anything. You don't have experiences knowing what you want to do. You don't really have job experiences because you can't do a lot of things. You don't really have social experience outside the hierarchy of high school.
Life
So
experience,
like,
basically. There's no life experience. Yeah.
punches you right in the face.
Yeah. These kind of jobs you're doing are very important because it definitely helps your self-development. So yeah, it's good. So like it's interesting how you've kind of built yourself up to where you are now and where you're heading. So tell me about your hobbies. Like what kind of things, what are you passionate about? What do you enjoy doing in your free time?
Yeah. So there was a point of time where I was really invested into making music. Probably I did go to college right out of high school, and I was dorming for a semester, and I went to a really small school. It was a Division III school, probably like 2,000 people. So I wasn't on this big ass campus. It was kind of like in a rural area too. So I was just sitting in my dorm room, and before I went to college, I never really was into the YouTube sphere. So I really didn't know like that basically there's somebody making a YouTube channel and putting content out and information that you could just find on the internet about anything. I had no idea. All I knew was what I knew up until that point was just like my hometown, what my friends were doing in high school. So once I got into college and I just started to use the internet a little bit, it like blew my mind with like everything that's out there. That's even why we're talking right now, is because I found Aphro-D YouTube, you know what I mean?
100%. So, yeah.
When I did that, it just like popped me in the face, and I just got interested in music because I was bored. So I was like, I just started like writing. Like I was always artistic. I used to write like some poetry in high school, and so I started writing like hip hop music that was awful in my dorm room. And then eventually I just kept with it because I was bored and it just seemed like something fun to do. And I eventually transpired that into like throwing shows and making albums and making music and putting stuff out. A lot of it I've taken down off the internet, but I mean, it went pretty well. Like I played like shows for 200, 300, 400, 500 people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I don't get nervous in that regard.
Any collaborations of any like minor celebrities or any musicians, anything like that? Or
yeah, in the underground subculture of hip hop, yeah, I don't think anybody would know, but there's been like some people who do have. I mean, it's so easy to get some recognition nowadays over the internet. You know what I mean? And with social media. So yeah, I've been able to do that. I kind of took a break with all of this because, in my opinion, when it comes to making art and making music, it's more important about who you are and just letting that reflect through the music. And those are the best musicians and the people who have fans gravitate to them to the most. So I realized, I was plateauing as who I was. So if I want to become somebody with regard and acclaim, then I need to become a better version of myself. And that way I could just effortlessly do it in every song. It's not just going to be, it happens this song, it doesn't happen this time, it doesn't happen. Somebody like, for example, Jay-Z, every single song Jay-Z makes is a reflection of him. Like, yeah, he might have better songs and worse songs, but there's like a certain standard that he's at, that he's never, a threshold that he's never going to fall below. And that threshold comes from his development as a person. You follow what I'm saying?
I understand. Yeah. So I mean, would you say your standards are quite high? Because are you just a writer, or do you actually sing as well? Like where?
No, I record. There's my, see it. There's a microphone right there. Like when I do something, I go all in. So like I've have like probably like $5,000 home studio, a little bit more. I've been to bigger studios, but that's the thing. Like if I was gonna do this, I didn't want to do it in just for shits and giggles and like fall baseline. So if I want to do it, I want to be at a higher level, like be as big as some of the biggest people could be right now in the industry. You know, I look up to, like, where I set my my paradigm are like the people who are doing it the best. I don't set it at the bottom. So I realize these people are at a certain threshold already as a person before they are as an artist. Without being comparative, I'm just saying on a level of confidence, on a level of self-belief. And where can I build myself up with confidence, self-belief, and these other qualities? Well, I personally think that is through increasing my, you know, testosterone, increasing my masculinity, increasing my self-reliance as far as habits, all these different things, you know? Because there's a weird, I could talk about this for hours, but
All right.
there's a weird thing that goes on in entertainment, and especially the music industry. And that is the dream that it can be sold to you and you can do it without putting in any work. That's why, like, what are the big marketing schemes of artists nowadays? Sex, drugs, lust, like all negative things, you know? And the people who are, how do I want to say this? It's showing people that that the way you get there is by doing those things, not through personal growth.
You mean like it's a short? It's like a cheat. It's like a shortcut.
Yeah, that's what's being sold, like through the industry right now is the fake shit on how to get there. Because hip hop, in my opinion, is one of the most influential things to the youth right now. So if they sell them the lifestyle through vices and through negative things, that's what kids are going to participate in because they want to be like these people. Well, when you actually like configure it and see who's really doing it and who really has their own money in it and isn't just a product of the industry or product of music labels that are doing this, it's people that are self-reliant, that have sustainable level of confidence. And what did they do to get there? Well, that's what I wanted to dive into. These people are like doing all things that promote self-growth, which go hand in hand with masculinity. You know what I mean? Like lifting, taking care of yourself, doing all these different things.
Yeah, I hear you. And so how did you actually get, so like what led you into the kind of the self-development of getting into training and starting to read and all that kind of stuff? Did something happen prior to that? Like what was the you know, what was the turning point? What actually happened?
So growing up, especially in high school, I had this great desire to I wanted to be extremely disciplined about something, but I didn't understand how discipline worked. I didn't understand that I played basketball growing up. I didn't understand that you need to perhaps wake up earlier than everybody else to go to the gym before school, to eat healthier. Didn't understand discipline work because I didn't know certain things. Like there's tangible things that help you do this. Like you can't just say you want to eat healthy but not know what to eat healthy. You can't wake up before everybody. Like I didn't understand that to wake up before everybody, you have to go to bed before everybody else. Like there's certain rules that apply to discipline. And I just wanted to be successful so bad in high school and didn't understand the rules to do it. So eventually I wanted the things that come along with success in high school, which was popularity and girls, bitches, whatever. That's what in high school, that's what it was about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I couldn't get them through being some highly successful athlete or anything like that because I didn't understand these rules. So I started to try and acquire my riches through unsustainable means. So to try and get laid and whatnot, I was just going to parties. And what would I do at parties? I would get drunk, I would smoke weed, do normal teenage stuff. But in that process, I was really, selling myself out because I was just giving up who I am and what I wanted to represent and who I wanted to be to just get these women to get laid. And I ultimately paid the price for it because at first it worked. Like it was working. Like I was becoming more popular. I started getting invited to more parties and I started hooking up with girls and stuff. But before I really even got too deep into that rabbit hole, I I went through this period where I got all stressed out, where like I had broken up with like this girl, and I got grounded because I got caught going to these parties. And in this process of like going to these parties that not everybody was invited to, I lost all my friends, and I started to, you know, see my grades suffer, and I started to see my social circle suffer, started to see my physical health suffer, and I started to really suffer in my athletic performance at basketball. And I was just super stressed out because, like I said, I was selling myself out just to do these things, to get these riches without putting in any work. And what had happened was I just woke up one day when I was 17 and my dick just wasn't working. Like I just didn't have morning wood, which is just like, what the fuck? Like it just happened like that. Just one day. I was like, what the fuck? So I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to tell anybody. I didn't want to tell my parents or anything, you know? So I figured it would just kind of amend itself. I was wrong. So I went on probably like 4 or 5 months. This was my junior year of high school, and I didn't know what to do. So I told my parents, and my parents are by no means like have any knowledge of health. So they're just like, go to the doctor. So go to the doctor.
They meant well. They mean well. Yeah.
Yeah, they meant well. So I just go to the family doctor, and he's just like, oh, it's mental. It's mental. I'm like, okay, whatever. So that was it. Did nothing work. So I go back like 2 months later. Like he was just telling me, I don't even know what he told me. He just told me it was a mental, like you'll be fine. So go back like 2 months later, 3 months later, and he's like, we'll do some blood tests. He said my results were fine. And he put me on Cialis. So when he put me on that as like a 17-year-old kid, and after already going through this process for like 7 months of your dick not working, you don't want to tell anybody, you don't want to tell your parents, you can't live the life that you wanted to live as a 17-year-old kid. Now like your whole world just collapsed on it completely. Like I'm talking about it as it's lightly now, but like it was honestly like such a dark period. And I just started to get like really severely depressed and anxious. And especially it became worse than when they're telling me it's mental and then they're putting me on Cialis. How do I feel about it? And so still nothing worked. I tried going to like a couple psychiatrists to figure it out, and they gave me like really shitty advice. They like, the one dude actually was telling me to like watch porn and stuff, like watch as much porn as possible, which at the time I didn't know any better, but like now I'm like, that really doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Like nobody could figure it out. And as I kept getting more and more depressed, it started to become like this vicious cycle where things were piling on. As I got depressed, then like I became secluded. I lost like all my friends. I lost all my motivation. I lost all my drive. And then like the rest of my body started fucking up. Like my stomach got really sick. And I just got like really depressed. So I ended up going to college. Got to slow down a little bit. I don't want to miss any details, honestly. So I went to college, not really knowing what I wanted to go for, not really seeing a point, because when you're at that point, you don't see a point to life at all. You don't see a purpose. So I went to college and just became very isolated as well, depressed, still having erectile dysfunction, still having severe stomach issues, and just feeling like shit all the time. And then I kept going to a bunch of other doctors to get blood tests done. And I probably did, when I was like 18, between the ages of like 18 and 19, I probably gave like 100 vials of blood, like did that many tests. Yeah. Like I remember one time I went to the phlebotomist and I gave 19 vials of blood, and they said, this is the most I've ever seen anybody have to give. So like, I just felt like I was being a victim to a lot of malpractice too at the time, because anytime I would go to a doctor, they would either just give me a medication or just not do anything. Or even if I had a blood test and it came up and it said something was like, didn't look right, like nothing would ever follow it up. So that just kind of led me down a path of, I have to take matters into my own hands.
So I think what's something in your head? There was something in your head, like like a voice.
Yeah.
You mentioned it.
Yeah. So what I did was I had gone vegan when I was like 19 then to like fix my stomach because I thought this was the way to do it. And honestly, at first it worked because this happens for everybody who goes vegan. They not only just stop eating animal products, but they stop eating shitty food. So I stopped eating shitty animal products and shitty food, like processed food. So I did that for a few years, and after nothing amending and my mental health just being like totally obliterated and depressed, everything just went downhill. Like my whole my stomach was just awful as ever. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't do anything. Like terrible health problems. I didn't know what I had. I didn't know if I had IBS. I didn't know if I had Crohn's. So I was just walking around with like erectile dysfunction, depression, severe digestional issues, not telling anybody, like just acting like not telling any of my peers or anything, hiding it, which made this even worse and created more trauma on any trauma that I may have already had. But I didn't complain about it because I just knew that it'd be a temporary thing. I just didn't know how long temporary means. I don't know what temporary means. Temporary doesn't have a definition. I'm not over the hump completely even today as we speak. So like temporary doesn't mean a month, 2 months, 2 years. Temporary means until it's just not forever, until it's fixed. So what kind of kept me hopeful during this time was making the music. That's why I did it. Like just having something to look forward to, having something that was goal oriented. Like I was doing all these things, but on the music side, like life was going good. Like I was doing stuff with these disabilities, these temporary disabilities that my peers weren't doing. Like this kind of just opened up my mind. It gave me a different perspective. Like it allowed me to be like, I see all my friends that are fine. And why are they falling off and not doing things that they want to do in their life? They're falling off because like they're falling victim to like being married, having in a relationship when they're like 19 or 20, or just being like addicted to sex and not seeing anything else of life, or just participating in degenerative activities. So me having to like fight to be healthy, I wanted to do it morally right and I wanted to do it biologically right. And this process of doing this led me to wanting to become great. Like I was having shows, making albums, doing all these different things, trying to do it the right way. And that just, how could I do all these things while I'm disabled when none of my friends can do them? And it only made sense because of my mind. I was enlightened through this hardship. So a lot of shit happened all between here. This all started, like I said, when I was a junior. I'm 23 now. So this was like 7 years. So it's hard for me to kind of like detail all that in here.
Okay. So I mean, so don't worry, it's fine. I think we got a good gist of what happened. And that's a very interesting journey, and I'm sure we could definitely continue with that. So you also, did you get in touch with like more the spiritual side as well, or were you just focusing on the physical side?
The spiritual is what led to the physical. So let me I'll skip some of these years in between here and just come up to like where I am now.
That's fine. Yep.
I had gotten my own apartment in last like February of 2020, and we went into the quarantine in March. And while I was alone in my apartment, I was like, I'm really sick of this going on. I'm sick of being sick. It's been this many years. Like, I can't figure this out. I don't understand. And I heard a voice in my ear. Now, I've had a lot of during this whole time before this, I've had a lot of spiritual interactions and, like I said, enlightenment. So I wasn't like totally thrown off by like a symbol or a universal sign or like hearing a voice or something like that. But this was just like a turning point. I kept hearing a voice in my ear that was like, eat salmon. And I was like, huh. And I ignored it. And I heard that for like a week straight then. So I started looking up research about like eating salmon and like, because at this point I thought veganism was just the way. Like, I don't see how, because there's just so much propaganda out there. Like, it's good. We talked yesterday. I was like, there's so many points to veganism that do make sense to a certain degree. So I was just totally against anything else. So I started looking that up, and I saw it's like 80% 86% of vegans return to eating meat. And I'm like, wow, that's such an astronomical number. Something's not right here. So I started looking that up, and my opinion, obviously I had ED, so I didn't know. I was trying to like boost my testosterone, and I was trying to figure all this shit out. I was taking herbs and stuff, but my digestion was awful, so nothing was working. So just me keep doing research, and then when it led to like me researching dietary choices and testosterone, one of Farhan's videos got recommended to me in YouTube, and I watched it. And normally I was like skeptical of all those type of videos, like boost your testosterone, this and that. I don't know, because there's like a lot
So that was what, 7-8 months ago?
That was in March.
That was in March. Okay.
Yeah, and I downloaded all this free content, and I bought Aphro-D, and I just dove into all of that. And then I started to just implement all of it. And then I came across Van stuff, which was like the Rock Hard for Life stuff. And I started implementing all that. And just gradually over time, I just kept doing all this stuff and trying all this stuff when I was in my apartment, like all the dietary changes. And I was doing it wrong at first. And then like I was trying a bunch of different meditations, like dynamic meditation, all this shit to like fix whatever I got going on. And I invested in mentors, and I invested in hypnotherapy, and I invested in trainers, and just I started reading, and I probably read like 40 some books since March. Like I don't know. I just became a total person.
Basically, you going through that healing process.
Yeah, and it just
real healing process. Yeah, comprehensive healing process. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm still going through it, but I just feel so hopeful at the moment right now. You know, like I said, it's hard for me to kind of put into words. Like I need to, write this out one day so I could have a better way of explaining this story.
Sure.
So it may, be able to become more relatable, easier to listen to, and other people might be able to find some sort of solace in this story, especially young people. Because that's a goal of mine, because I know that there's other young people that have had to go through this and didn't know where to look. Like I didn't know where to look for 7 years, I don't want somebody else to not know where to look for 7 years.
So that comes into the last point, is what would your important message be to everyone who might have the same experiences as you had, and to people in the group as well, that people in the Aphro-D group? What would be your message so your general message, I guess, to the whole world, to anyone that's kind of going through these kind of issues that maybe you've gone through? What would you say to them?
It's a 2-part message, and the first part is, don't get angry or get mad about the hardships or things that happen to you. You have to be able to see the opportunity that presents themselves. And it could be very hard sometimes, because it might, remove everything that you've ever known from your life. It might break you down to ground zero so you could build a fresh foundation, because this hardship is what allowed me to surpass a life of mediocrity, that enlightened me to, make decisions every day that are good for me, that could lead me towards greatness. If it wasn't for these things, like I was saying, I think I posted a video one time in Rock Hard for Life Inner Circle, and it was like this, like my dysfunction is my superpower, because it's the only thing that led me towards wanting greatness and figuring out active ways of pursuing it. So I would tell anybody who's frustrated if they have sexual dysfunction or if they have any health problems, to just not get mad at them, not fight them, but to understand them. And this leads to the second part, that defeat is temporary. Nothing is permanent. If you listen and try to understand your hardship, the next step would be to amend them. And by amending them, that proves that the hardship was temporary, and you'll be better off after that. To this day, when I speak to you, I'm not even fully through this. And I understand I'm not fully through this because I haven't yet rendered the action to deserve the results I want. I don't know, like, if this amended today, what if I stagnated? What if I'm supposed, like Farhan, I know he's it's his birthday today, right? He's like 30 something. He's older than me.
We'll keep it that. We'll keep it 30 something. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
30 something. And if I know he had sexual problems into his 30s. Well, if he amended them when he was, say, my age, we might never have Aphro-D right now.
This is true. This is true.
So that's why I'm saying, like, I understand now that there's a higher power guiding me and that this is only temporary. And until I acquire the wisdom through my experiences to come out the other side and give to the world whatever I have to give from my experiences, I can't be mad at that. Because what if I have to, you know, keep learning and keep this process up for another 2 years so I can receive whatever it is I need to give to the world from this? That's the blessing of all this. I'm not going to fight it. You know what I mean? I just have to keep that in mind every single day. And when you keep that in mind, you know, you'll see your life start to get better. It's not going to get worse. So my life gets better. I might not have exactly what I want this moment, but I have a progression towards those things, and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. That would be my message.
Anthony, thank you very much for your words of wisdom. You're definitely mature beyond your years, and you know, I look forward to speaking to you in the future and seeing how you develop, for sure. And you know, as always, we're always working on our own self-development, so that's great. And I hope to speak to you soon.
Mm-hmm.
Have a great day, and speak to you soon.
All right, thank you, Will.
Take care.